What's up? Semen retention. Men will become miserable and depressed when they constantly relapse. Now, I've relapsed so many times, and I felt horrible so many times. And I would always find myself going back to it, and I believe the reason that was because I wasn't looking at who I wanted to be in life. I wasn't recognizing, okay, what I'm gonna do. How am I gonna replace this habit? And you can ask many guys. You know what I'm saying? You could ask guys this, or you could just really think about it. Look at your personal experience, like from guys that have had problems with watching the websites and masturbation and all that. 90% of these guys, or almost 100% of these guys, are depressed and they're miserable. You know, and today's world we live in, you know what I'm saying? You can have money, cars, and everything, but your sexual energy is always going to be linked to who you are as a person. You know what I'm saying? When you lose your sexual energy, you will lose who you are as a person. And I've had personal experience with that. And it's not something to play with. It's something to be serious about, and it can really destroy your life. And it starts mentally, and this is why. I remember I was listening to a preacher one time a long time ago, and he was talking about like most men who like masturbate and watch porn and stuff. Those men be depressed. You get what I'm saying? And it's a spiritual aspect to it, you know. But I want to focus on like, okay, how can we get over this, and how can we change this habit as quick as we can. And I think the biggest thing is you have to recognize how it's hurting you at first. I feel like that's an important thing. You have to understand what it's actually doing to you and how much harm it's doing to you, because the longer you get it, the longer you addicted, the longer you have the problem, the more depressed you're gonna become. You get what I'm saying? The more dull to life you're gonna become. It's gonna take the life force out of everything that you do in your life, while at the same time, you know what I'm saying, it's gonna make you feel like you're not even yourself no more, you know. And just as I really look at this, man, it's so true that like it's gonna make you depressed. You know what I'm saying? It does stuff to your dopamine levels, while at the same time, you know, it's just making it so much harder to just be yourself and have fun doing things. That threshold for fun is gonna always go up, because you're trying to wait for that little feel good feeling you do when you that feel good feeling you get when you masturbate or whatever, when really that's like, you're on drugs. You're chasing that high, and nothing else feel good but that. So you can't read a book, you can't go out and try to talk to a girl, you can't even, like, even if you got like genuinely like just some carefree hobbies like playing basketball or playing video games, it's gonna make stuff like that harder to enjoy. In your everyday life, it's gonna make it harder to enjoy, just because your dopamine is only looking for that next spike. And when it keeps looking for spikes, your baseline lowers. So just on average, you're just not gonna feel like yourself. And I think that's a big reason why. You know what I'm saying? It take your personality away, and it can this lead. This is such a huge problem, man. It can lead men to doing bad things to themselves, getting really depressed, and so it's not something to be played with, man. You have to get, if you got a problem with it, I would say, you know what I'm saying, try to turn, like, not try to turn your life around, but also recognize that, you know, don't make other people the enemy too. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times when we get into this zone of addiction, we tend to isolate, you know, and I feel like in the very beginning, I isolated so bad for years, from ages probably 14 to 19. Nobody knew about that problem that I had, and I felt so miserable inside, man. I felt so depressed inside, you know, and now I'm on a cycle of getting out of it, and my brain and everything is recovering, you know, but yeah, man, there's a lot of stuff going on in your brain, and you have to get a hold of it, and it's just something so serious. People got to take more serious because it could lead you, like, it could ruin your whole life. You get what I'm saying? And it may not do that in a very, like a very, like a way where you can just see it right in front of you. It start gradually. When I first developed the problem, I didn't have anxiety at first. I didn't have problems with talking with girls at first. I was still able to be myself. But as days, months, years went on, gradually I got more antisocial. Gradually I got more, it was harder for me to be myself. Gradually the stuff that used to feel fun to do wasn't fun anymore to do. You know, Gradually I just started feeling more depressed, having more negative thoughts. Gradually I developed just low energy 24/7. I had low energy all the time. You know, I was more laid back. Gradually, you know what I'm saying? The hard work and stuff didn't feel good anymore. Like, when you get on semen retention, bro, the hard work supposed to feel fun. It make the hard work, you know what I'm saying, feel passionate and you feel alive about it, you know? But that's when people say, semen retention is your life force energy, or your semen is your life force energy. That's so true, because without it, you're depressed. When you constantly in that cycle of relapsing and stuff, you're depressed. You get what I'm saying? Because your life is being taken away from you psychologically. You get what I'm saying? So you become like more dead spiritually and more dead mentally. You get what I'm saying? You may still have your body. It's gonna do stuff to your body too. But it starts to take the life out of your life. You get what I'm saying? And a lot of guys don't recognize they lost it, or a lot of guys don't recognize the importance until they lost it. And so we just have to understand that, man. And as life goes on, we have to keep the mindset of, our sexual energy has to be valued, has to be taken serious. We have to use it the right way, because this stuff is very important. It's gonna make or break who you are as a person a lot of times. For a lot of men, you know what I'm saying? It can make or break if you're gonna be successful or not, if you can be yourself around people, really, if you can have a good relationship with a girl. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just very important, and it's something that is essential in life that you take care of. A lot of guys just look over it and they just think about impressing somebody or looking cool. You know what I'm saying? But you have to look at your life and look at how, you know what I'm saying, you're hurting yourself, and look at how you're helping yourself. At the end of the day, man, somebody may not care, but you have to be serious about, you know what I'm saying, your sexual energy. You know, we got to get away from all the degeneracy, the being promiscuous. We have to have more young men that's gonna control themselves sexually and actually, put that into bettering their life and bettering the world and bettering people. Because that's what's gonna get us ahead in society. And that's what's gonna really give that a lot of men that boost, because, like I said, that's the most powerful energy a human being has, their sexual energy, because that's their creative energy. Another human being could be born through, you know what I'm saying, your seed. So, you know, it's just something to take care of. That's all I gotta say. Peace out.